Hello, everyone, and welcome to the final Premier Injuries Daily Roundup. What feels like it's been a really, really long season. So I'll be looking forward to the break, but that doesn't mean the content will stop. We will be producing and releasing content throughout the summer. Yes, it's going to be injury related. Yes, they may be touching upon some FPL and some fantasy ahead of the new season. We'll also be looking to do a full 20-team preview as we did last season. Some really high-profile people getting involved in that. So make sure you keep your eyes and ears open at Ben Dinnery on Twitter for all of the latest news. And of course, you can always check out premierinjuries.com. Now to Sunday, all the fixtures kicking off at 4 p.m. For Arsenal, they entertain Everton at the Emirates. Nearly lost that one there, didn't I? Now, Mikel Arteta spoke on Friday, didn't go too much in to team selection news and updates. But what we do know, Rob Holding, he returns after a one-match ban. Big question marks over Takahiro Tomiyasu. He was forced off St James's Park with a hamstring-related problem. I suggest he misses out altogether with Cedric Soares probably coming back into that starting 11. Also, Ben White and Gabriel, they'll be checked. They've been managing their own hamstring issues in recent times. And also, Emile Smith-Rowe looks like an ongoing groin problem that could see Gabriel Martinelli back in that starting 11. Thomas Partey and Kieran Tierney are the two players that we know will remain sidelined. For the visitors, Everton, they secured their top flight status with a come from behind win over Crystal Palace on Thursday evening 3-2. That eases a lot of pressure on Frank Lampard. Therefore, no need to take any unnecessary risks on players. So that falls into the category of Yerry Mina and Fabian Delph. Those are two players who are managing muscle problems and have well-documented history of injury issues. So I don't expect those two players to be involved. Jared Branthwaite, he returns after his one-match ban. We know that Andros Townsend already out for the season, and Nathan Patterson, and also Solomon Rondon. He will serve the second game of his three-match ban following his dismissal against Brentford. Now, on to Brentford, Thomas Frank was the only manager that we heard from on official press conference duty on Thursday. Of all of those players that he was hoping to return, there's only one in realistic contention, and that's Fram Onyeka. He picked up an ankle ligament injury playing for, I think it was Nigeria, the Super Eagles, in the last international break. He's been out of his protective boot for a while, rejoined the group last Friday, so that puts him in contention. But Ethan Pinnock, Matthijs Jorgensen, and also Saman Ghoddos, they're out of the game. Now, the visitors, Leeds, of course, they need to get a result to maintain any hope of remaining in the top flight. So we have heard from Jess Marsh already. Now, Luke Ayling and Dan James, those two players are suspended. Luke Ayling could be out for up to 4 months after undergoing knee surgery this week. Elsewhere, Tyler Roberts back on the training pitches for the first time on Friday. However, he's unavailable for selection. He had surgery on his hamstring. They expect him to be ready for the beginning of pre-season. Adam Forshaw, Stuart Dallas, they're out long-term. But Patrick Bamford, he could be involved. In fact, I suggest that he will be included in that matchday squad. He has trained as expected this week. He's on schedule. It's going to be a case of how many minutes he can possibly undertake on Sunday. But again, a lot of that may be driven by the result on the pitch at the time. So he's certainly put himself up there in with a shout of a start. Now, Brighton, they entertain West Ham United. Enoch Mwepu, Graham Potter had originally thought that groin problem that he picked up a few weeks back would keep him out for the season. Good news is he's back in contention. Unfortunately, Jeremy Sarmiento is progressing really well, but he hasn't made it. The only other player that they have absent is Jacob Moura. That's an ACL rupture, may miss the remainder of the calendar year. For West Ham, David Moyes, Barahino, ankle injury, I think that was in game week 36. Looks as if he's going to be okay, should be there or thereabouts. However, Issa Diop, we have seen him return to the matchday squad in recent weeks, but that ongoing ankle problem hasn't quite fixed itself. So we don't expect him to see him back. Also, Angelo Ogbonna, there was lots of talk and suggestion over the last 4 to 6 weeks that he could be in contention again after an ACL rupture, but that isn't going to be the case. Next up, we have Burnley. Burnley, of course, only a win would guarantee their top flight status. Visitors Newcastle, so expect no favours from Eddie Howe, and indeed Chris Wood, who should be back in contention for the Magpies. Not a lot of change in that Burnley treatment. Of course, they played on Thursday night, so we have heard from interim boss Mike Jackson. Players will still be getting assessed following their 1-1 draw. Now, a couple of things to note. Matty Loughton, he was dismissed in the 90th minute on Thursday. Now, the club think they've got a really strong case to appeal that, so they're going to be going down that route. Also, Jay Rodriguez back with the physios today, training after a hamstring problem. He's rated as 50-50, but he could come into the squad. James Koskowski was included in the starting 11, and he came through that match absolutely fine. For Newcastle, I touched upon Chris Wood. He missed the game against Arsenal because of a minor hip complaint. Eddie Howe said it's not serious. He was expected to train on Friday, and then he'd come through the session on Saturday. If he gets the all clear, then he'll be in and around that starting 11. Elsewhere, Ryan Fraser returned from the bench on Monday night against Arsenal. He's obviously been out for a few weeks with a hamstring problem. Felt that again, a little bit of discomfort. So I don't see Eddie Howe risking him in that game. I think, again, with nothing really to play for, I don't see there being any chance in taking a risk. And that's very similar to Fabian Schär, collision with Eddie Nketiah on Monday night, which resulted in the Arsenal forward getting a yellow card. Nasty collision, knocked the defender out. Due to concussion protocol, he was removed from the pitch, and Jamal Salles came on in his order. Now, he has progressed through that protocols really well. Enhanced care setting means that you can actually return to play within 6 days. However, what I would say is enhanced care setting doesn't really mean a great deal. There's a brain injury there, and I just think there's too much risk for the likes of Fabian Schär to be thrown back in. Then it could be that Jamal Lascelles is paired alongside Dan Burn. For Chelsea, Thomas Tuchel, no press conference scheduled on Friday. He post-match updates after their 1-1 draw with Leicester. Didn't give a lot of team news. Again, players will need to be assessed, even though they come through that encounter relatively unscathed with no obvious or serious problems that we're certainly aware of. Problems, issues, niggles, they can evolve over the next 24 to 48 hours. But as it currently stands, N'Golo Kante, he was handed another start. Thomas Tuchel was full of praise for the French midfielder. He spoke about him. He was the Kylian Mbappe, the Kevin De Bruyne, the Virgil van Dijk of the Chelsea team. However, he said, all well and good, but he can only be on the pitch 40% of the time. Actually, looking at the data, he's doing that and Kante a little bit of an injustice. He has been available for around about 70% of Premier League matches this term, and that was even higher last season as well. So whether Kante will be fit and available for the quick turnaround remains to be seen. Mateo Kovacic, again, ankle ligament problem. Surprised to see him in the FA Cup final, but he hasn't trained. Callum Hudson-Odoi and Ben Chilwell both out. And elsewhere, we've seen Kai Havertz introduced from the bench on Thursday. He could get more minutes. And also Andreas Christensen, he was out of the matchday squad on Thursday and also last weekend for that FA Cup final. Now, Thomas Tuchel revealed that it isn't injury related. He won't disclose the conversation that's went on. It's a personal matter, and he has doubts on whether Andreas Christensen will put himself forward for the final game. Watford, they're their opponents at Stamford Bridge. Now, Watford, we could expect several players back in contention. Chucho Hernandez, hamstring problem. He's been training fully this week, so no problem. Josh King and also Kiko Firmino, they're over their illness. Also, Tom Cleverley, he's been out for a couple of weeks due to a rib problem. Looks to be absolutely fine. However, they're still missing a boatload of players. Loser, Emmanuel Dennis, Ismail Sarr, Samir, he was pulled out of the warm-up last week, the groin-related issue. Again, he's trained. He looks absolutely fine, so should be included. Crystal Palace, of course, we just touched upon it before. They lost 3-2 at Goodison Park on Thursday evening, so players will be assessed. But post-match, a lot of the talk was about the pitch invasion and Patrick Vieira. So we didn't touch a lot about if there had been any problems. Again, nothing on the face that seems to be too major. However, the Athletic did reveal that Mark Guy left Goodison Park on crutches with his ankle in a protective cast. Again, no official line on that, but we do know that he picked up a similar issue on May the 7th against Watford, so that may or may not be related, but certainly it calls into question his availability this weekend. James Tompkins and James MacArthur are two players that face a late test. Tompkins, I would suggest, is in a slightly better position. Michael Olise and Nathan Ferguson, they're both out. Manchester United, Ralph Rangnick would not name individuals as such. What he said, we're going to be missing a lot of players again this weekend. But this is what we do know. Jadon Sancho had been training following tonsillitis, but couldn't complete the session on Friday. Phil Jones took part in aspects of the session on Friday, could not complete. Marcus Rashford, bronchitis. He looks to be okay, trained fine. Eric Bailly, back. Again, looks to be okay. We have seen Luke Shaw back on the training pitches as well. However, his wife is expecting a second child, and that could keep him out of the game. Big question marks over Paul Pogba, who we expect to miss out as well. Mason Greenwood, of course, we know he's been unavailable for selection for a large part of the season. Leicester, they entertain the Saints. Two definite absentees in Wilfred Ndidi and also Ryan Bertrand. They've been out for quite a significant period. Hope that Yuri Tielemans, who took a knock on the knee last time out, and also James Justin, we know he's had that shoulder problem, but also he missed out on Thursday night because of sickness and a bit of a stomach bug going around in that Leicester camp. Hopefully he would be okay and recover for Sunday's game. For Southampton, Fraser Forster, he still remains on the sidelines, so Alex McCarthy will start in goal. Tino Livramento and Roman Perraud, a fractured bone in his foot, out for 5 to 6 weeks. They're the two long-term absentees. For Liverpool, the good news with regards to Joe Gomez, that problem with his ankle doesn't look to be too serious. The first scan came back all clear. As a precautionary measure, he's been sent for a second one. They're awaiting the results of that. Providing there are no issues, Jurgen Klopp said it's just a case of pain management and how they deal with that ahead of Sunday. So it will be determined on either Friday or Saturday on whether Joe Gomez will be in and around that starting 11. Elsewhere, Fabinho, Mo Salah and Virgil van Dijk all carrying minor little issues. Jurgen Klopp said, ideally, I would like to include all three players in the squad, if not necessarily from the start, but certainly from the bench where I could introduce them. But if he doesn't, ahead of this Champions League final next week, then we'll address that in due course. But it's all looking good. All three players are progressing. So like I say, if they do miss out this weekend, I would certainly expect all three to be included in that Champions League final squad, barring any kind of reaction or setback. Visitors Wolves, no fresh injury concerns. We have the three big major injury doubts for those. Max Kilman, not due back until August. Roman Sias, being out in recent weeks because of a knee problem. He hasn't recovered. And Nelson Semedo recently had surgery on his hamstring. Manchester City, we're almost there. Entertain Aston Villa and Steven Gerrard, hoping to get one over Pep, and help his old team. But we'll see. Pep came out and he praised his medical staff and the club doctors, and that's because he had ruled out John Stones and Kyle Walker for the remaining fixtures. However, both players have recovered from hamstring and ankle injury problems, respectively. So both of those players have been spotted on the training pitches and are in contention for a start. Otherwise, it's pretty much as you were. We know that Ruben Diaz is out for the season. For Aston Villa, Ezri Konsa suffered a similar injury to Marvelous Nakamba. That's the MCL, the medial collateral ligament in his knee. That's probably going to keep him on the sidelines for around about 4 months. So we could see him towards maybe the end of August, possibly September, maybe after the international break, the first one of the next season. Elsewhere within that Villa squad, again, they played, no obvious problems from that game. Leon Bailey is probably the closest or any chance of those on the sidelines who could recover from an ankle problem, but I would suggest it is a bit of a stretch. Courtney House has been out long term, so we don't expect to see him because of an abdominal issue. And finally, Norwich and Spurs. For Norwich, of course, it's confirmed that they have been relegated. There's a load of players now that the club have released information that they will be leaving the club. Lucas Rupp being one of those, and of course, all of those players who joined on loan, Matthias Norman, Billy Gilmore, Ozan Kabak, and also Brandon Williams. They're all returned to their respective parent clubs. Kenny McLean, Josh Sargent, Christoph Zimmerman, they're all out. Omar Belidari and also Adam Ida, they're ruled out. There's hope that Ben Gibson can recover from a niggling back problem. Otherwise, if he doesn't, we may see the Canaries forced into a tactical reshuffle. Of course, he started with a back three last weekend, or a three going forward and a 5 in defence. And finally, Tottenham. The big headlining or the talking points ahead of Friday afternoon was the fact that Harry Kane missed a media appointment in London due to some illness. However, we have heard from Antonio Conte. He's very confident that Harry Kane will be available, and he expects the squad to be unchanged from last weekend. And of course, saying that instantly rules out Christian Morero. Now, he's had a hip problem, and there had been some suggestion that he may take a pain-killing injection to get him through the game. However, Antonio Conte has poured cold water on that, and it will be the same squad as it currently stands. So, that's it. That is your final Premier Injuries daily roundup ahead of Game Week 38. And like I say, keep following throughout the summer. We will be dropping loads of great, exciting content. If you have any questions in the meantime, you can always hit me up at Ben Dinnery on Twitter. I'm never far away. Also, pop the comments in the box below. And if you need some of the latest injury updates, then you can always check out premierinjuries.com. I hope you've had a great season. Thanks for having us. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And I look forward to seeing you throughout the next few months.